This is Expert Advantage, a behind-the-scenes look at how JD Power experts help clients turn actionable market intelligence into strategic advantage. I'm your host, Michael Vermillion with JD Power, and today I'm joined by Jim Vecchio, Senior Director for our Insurance Solutions practice. Jim, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Mike. Good to be here.
So what's the topic of conversation these days when you're talking to industry executives in the insurance industry?
Sure. We see a lot of initiatives that carriers are trying to solve for. Everything from quoting and underwriting to pricing policies correctly to claims and collision repair. Really, when it comes right down to it, at the end of the day, measuring the risk of the vehicle is how our VIN data really helps carriers measure risk and price their policies properly.
So say a bit more about this risk of the vehicle concept. I know
Sure.
insurance historically is focused on the risk of the driver, right?
Yes.
So is the risk of the vehicle like a new concept, or?
Well, it's not really a new concept, but we are finding that measuring the risk of a vehicle is much more of a variable within carriers. There's a lot of data out there that hasn't been as brought into mainstream, like the risk of the driver. It's pretty obvious if a driver has some tickets or is in accidents, they're going to be a higher risk. But with the variation and complexity of vehicles today, it's very hard to measure both the risk and severity of some of these enhanced features that are being installed on vehicles.
So how's the industry embracing this concept? Is this something that when you talk to them about it, it makes sense, or are we seeing adoption across the board, or just maybe with some like leading innovators?
We're definitely seeing that the automotive carriers are facing challenges today because customers are shopping in increasing numbers, and even high lifetime value bundlers that bundle their home and auto are shopping, and carriers are very much interested in making sure that they're targeting the right customers that are profitable, and then balancing the costs associated with bringing on those new customers. And we all know that the customer acquisition costs are much higher than keeping existing customers. So making sure that the policy is priced right helps maintain existing customer base. We're also seeing that from a collision and repair perspective, and those are kind of insurance adjacent industries where we also play very heavily. As vehicles become more complex, the data that we provide helps those collision and repair companies work more efficiently, from repair estimation to parts ordering to actually repairing the vehicle. And then now we're seeing that some of the new applications are post-repair. You've got to calibrate the advanced driver systems, the ADAS functionality on those vehicles. So it's key to have the right data to make sure that those processes work smoothly and work to a successful progression.
So that's great, Jim. So maybe we don't have to name names here, but do you have an example or two of a client or a subscriber where the JD Power data made a difference?
I've got a couple of examples, Mike. We have several of the top 10 carriers that are actually utilizing our data to make sure that they're quoting customers accurately. And they want to make sure that they're acquiring the best targeted customers. And we like to use the term, penny perfect quotes. You want to make sure that when you're quoting that customer, that you're giving them a very accurate quote that makes sense for both the customer and is profitable for the organization. And we've seen that, through some of the testing that our carriers have done, that they're able to better target those customers and increase the right customers acquisition. And they do this by pricing the policies correctly. They're able to capture hundreds, even thousands of dollars per policy per year by offering data validated premiums. Also, we've seen in the collision and repair side of the house where our data has helped the collision and repair industry streamline their processes so that they can really have a clear picture of the vehicle. And when you think about it, there's a lot of manual efforts that go into looking at a vehicle. We've had some outcomes where we've worked with customers and they've done a VIN decode. They've looked at the 17-digit VIN, and their systems might return 5 or 7 different vehicle combinations. And a technician has to go and they have to physically inspect the vehicle. And oftentimes, a lot of those features are hidden on the vehicle. So, you've got some manual efforts, and then you have the possibility of mistakes, and you have guesswork. And one of the instances that we, like to talk about is windshield replacement. So, for example, on a F-150, you could have, based on how that vehicle is configured, you could have potentially five different windshields that could be installed in that vehicle. And if the F-150 has heads-up display, it may be a special order. So if you're going out to replace a windshield, something is, everybody's probably experienced, you may need to have a special order. So having the right data can really enhance those processes and help save money in the interim.
Yeah, I love both those examples. Make sure you got the right windshield for the F-150, and then the you call it the penny perfect pricing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. So, hey, Jim, so you've been in the industry for 20 years, 18 years with JD Power. I want to talk a little bit about your role with our subscribers and our clients. So,
Sure.
When you're talking to them, when you're working with them, how do you? What's the difference that you're making? How do you help them get to the right answer when it's perhaps not obvious just from the data itself?
So I've been, as you said, working with VIN data for nearly 20 years. And during that time, I've seen a lot of implementations and use cases for vehicle data. And I know that, some use cases are slam dunks. I've seen others that have been, clients want to use our data to achieve some type of an outcome, never really gets off the ground. And I guess as the industry keeps evolving, because there's a lot of new use cases that come up with calibrating technology packages. We've got a lot of technology that can automatically scan a vehicle to identify damage. I'm always learning, but having that, kind of marrying that with some of the historical expertise really helps me guide customer expectations and helps guide the path forward for our customers.
So when it comes to the risk of the vehicle, what's at stake here for the insurance companies that get it right, and for and then of course for the insurance companies that either ignore it or are slow to come to the table?
A great example of that, going back to the F-150 example, is you could have a F-150, same year, same make, same model, that could cost $40,000 or $80,000. And based on how that vehicle is equipped, you're going to have a base vehicle or a fully equipped vehicle. It's going to have quite difference in the value of the vehicle, and the equipment maybe some of the technology packages that are installed on that vehicle. And if you are an insurance carrier and you don't have the correct data, you're basically guessing what the value of that vehicle is. And by guessing, you may charge some customers a little bit more than they should be paying, and some customers you might be charging a little bit less than what they should be paying. But we always say the worst place to find out that you're not charging the right premium is when that car gets into an accident and is totaled. Mm-hmm. Then you have to cut a check for to the consumer, to the insured, to replace that vehicle. And if your assumptions and your decisioning was wrong, you can be significantly underwater and your loss ratios will rise. And that impacts profitability at the company. So having the data be available, and part of the challenge is many organizations at the C-suite aren't aware that this data, that the vehicle description data is so robust, it's standardized so that they can use it within their organization and they can focus on targeting and finding new customers. Our core competency is managing all of those OEM relationships, the manufacturer relationships, standardizing the data so they can make apples to apples comparisons, and having the platform that's available so that they can get it in milliseconds, a valuation and a vehicle description that they can use within their businesses.
So Jim, a VIN is 17 digits, is that right?
It is, Mike.
Okay, so you've been working with a 17-digit number for 20 years.
Yes.
What gets you excited about coming to work every day? What's behind your passion?
Vehicles are always changing. So, within the last, say, 10 years, we've seen a lot of the ADAS functionality come onto vehicles. So, automatic emergency braking, lane keep assistance. And the thing that gets me excited is we're always seeing new enhancements coming to vehicles. And I can give you one example. There's a Ford Motor Company has a Copilot 360. And that technology, it's not anything earth-shattering. It's the way that they kind of bundle the technology. They put it into a package, a protection package on a vehicle. It might be standard on a higher trim. It might be optional on a lower trim. But basically, the vehicle can drive itself. You have to put your hands on the wheel. You have to, touch the steering wheel. But the vehicle can stay in the lane and it can drive itself on a highway. It can identify whether there's a vehicle on the side or in the front, and it slows down. And part of that is that if you have that technology installed on your vehicle, Ford will actually pay part of your deductible if there is an accident. So we see things like that. I wouldn't say that's a game changer, but it's something that's definitely distinct to automobiles. They're becoming more and more automated. They're becoming more and more technology enabled. People are holding on to their vehicles a long time. There are a lot of older vehicles on the road, but the newer vehicles are really getting this type of technology that I think is changing the game. And the amount of data that is available, whether these systems are installed on a vehicle, whether they're actually turned on or turned off on a vehicle, and all of the data that goes along with that, I believe is eventually going to be available to the industry, to carriers, to manufacturers, so that they can make better decisions. And that's kind of what excites me, is that there's more use and more data that is available.
Terrific. So just to wrap up, if a leader that's listening to this podcast or watching this podcast could only take one thing away from this conversation, what should it be?
The way we look at it is that J.D. Power's VIN data solutions and our valuation technology are very easy to consume. So they help companies cut costs, eliminate human error and guesswork, and help drive profitability. And at the end of the day, we are really the industry standard. Our data is used by over 95% of the total loss valuation marketplace and nearly 90% of companies that finance vehicles. In fact, last year we processed over 6 billion VINs and touched over 90% of the transactions in North America, from merchandising to financing to insuring vehicles to claims and collision repair, and even to the disposition of vehicles at salvage auctions. Our data really drives the automotive industry.
Jim, that was great. Thanks so much for joining us today.
I appreciate it, Mike.
And to our listeners and viewers as well, thanks for joining us on Expert Advantage. If you're looking to turn actionable market intelligence into strategic advantage, J.D. Power's experts are here to help. I'm Michael Vermillion, and we'll see you next time.